So we're talking about companies setting themselves up for transformational growth. And we wrote a piece on this. And so we're just going to share a few tips from that. But to get started, Neethi, what sort of companies are we talking about? Like, what's their situation? What does it look like?
Yeah, a lot of the companies that we work with are B2B SaaS companies that have recently received private equity funding. So these companies are successful. They've grown really fast. They've obviously attracted investment, because of their success. But a lot of them are now kind of faced with a brand new challenge of growing transformationally to meet investor expectations. And so while they're celebrating their success of receiving investment, the road ahead is also going to be very challenging.
I think we've seen from dealing with a number of these companies that they've grown already. And a lot of times, I would even say they almost exhibit too much self-confidence in what they've done. Why do you think that they need to switch the way they've grown before?
Yeah, I like to say when we describe what we do, a lot of these companies have been very successful because they've had really strong products, strong product market fit, really just passionate sales teams. And so what worked to get them from A to B worked. That was what they needed at that time. But I really think in order to kind of get from B to C, really achieve that transformational growth, as we call it, they need to create some processes and really think about deliberately designing a go-to-market motion and marketing strategy that's going to allow them to really hit that next level of growth.
Yeah, totally. Because most of the companies that we deal with, and I think many companies in this situation, have really done so little around marketing. And so it's like a greenfield opportunity for them. And so it's just like
Yeah.
best exploit it.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting for us to come in and see how successful they've been without any sort of real marketing strategy. And so it's kind of all, as you said, greenfield for us.
Do you think it matters whether it's like founders in place or if the PE firm actually came in and put new leadership in, like what the next steps are?
I don't. I think it depends company to company. But I do think what's the most important and often overlooked part is whoever was on the deal team, whoever was involved, which is usually the founder at some level, they are already kind of invested in this deal. They're excited, they're getting some sort of financial payout. They kind of see the vision of where the company's going. I think more importantly than who's leading the company is really thinking about how are you going to bring the rest of the company along on this journey.
I think it's a great point because what we see is these founders a lot of times are able to sell this product just by the strength of their personality. Like they're so bought in, they're so passionate about it. But when they bring leaders in, they might have different skill sets, but regardless of the situation, the rest of the company isn't on board yet, or there is not, fully aware of what's going on. And so it doesn't really make a difference, even though the skill sets of the founder may be different than leadership that they bring in. And so it's really about just getting the whole company on board. And what do you think, like based on our experience, like what's the best ways to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is just we're talking about the excitement of growth, but a lot of people within the company who haven't been close to the deal making process get nervous when money comes in and there's new investors and there's new expectations. And so I think really just being transparent about the process to the extent that you can is really important. And even if you are able to, and I know each situation is different, kind of be transparent as you're going through the process. I think that is really valuable as well. But I do think this level of being honest, saying the investment that we're getting, and for most companies receiving growth investment, the future is looking very, very good. And in fact, instead of letting go people, they're going to hire more people and they're going to be able to invest more in what they're doing. And so it's an exciting time. But I think first is reassuring your employees that everything's going to be okay. And then it's really talking to them about what success looks like in the future, because it's going to be different than where they just were.
Yeah, and those things can be, I think those help alleviate a lot of like the fear people have, like not being transparent. I think the lack of transparency like sets alarm bells off in a lot of people's heads. They're like, what's going on here? And so then they start getting nervous, and then not having clear expectations, just ties into that. So you can go from a place where you have a huge opportunity to build excitement and scale for growth, but instead, because you weren't transparent or you didn't set clear goals, people are acting out of fear, which I think we've seen time and time again is not a great way to grow a company.
Yeah, and I think all of this seems really obvious, Ben, when you think about it. You're like, of course, you're going to tell people, where we're going as a company. But I think a lot of times leaders in these companies are so focused on what's next. And so whether it's hiring the rest of their executive team, whether it is finding someone to replace the founder, maybe it's, just really thinking about your next board meeting, which comes very quickly after the first, the investment closes. And so I think there's so much focus on kind of the road ahead that you forget that piece, that not everyone you need to let everyone catch up before you can move forward. And I think carving out that time, even if it delays, everything that you're working on by a week or 2 weeks, is really, really valuable and will save you a lot of time, a lot of false starts moving forward.
So key things: be transparent and set clear expectations for individuals in the company. What can you think of any ways to sort of like just take a temperature check of whether like the leadership has done a good job of doing those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to set up skip levels and one-on-ones and make sure managers are aware of what's happening and the potential impact it could have. I think I use this word time and time again, but just having empathy, really putting yourself in the shoes of the people that work for you and thinking like, how could this impact them? I know, I'm excited about it, but they may feel X or Y, and really addressing that. I also a big fan of just surveys and pulse checks and anything you can do to make it clear to your employees that you care about them and you care about how they feel. And also you're looking to do the best job you can to kind of bring them along for this exciting ride that's ahead.
I mean, I think that's right. It's hard to do too much here because we see time and time again, even with like whatever the investment thesis is, or regardless of that, it's still the employees that are going to end up growing this business, and so you need them to be along for the ride. And so you can't really do too much work in making sure that they understand what's going on and what the expectations are. So I think that's great. Well, thank you.